Today's podcast is brought to you by Blue Canary. The bird has landed on beautiful Bainbridge Island, conveniently located at 499 Madison Avenue. ASE Master Technician Clint Ramsey brings over 15 years of experience, award-winning diagnostic skill, and a desire to reinvent the automotive repair experience. Schedule an appointment online at bluecanary.biz or call them today at 206-451-4220. I got something for your mind, body, and soul. I got something for your mind, body, and soul.
You have found the B.I.STANDER Podcast. Now here's your host with the most, Tiny Tim.
What's good, Podcastville? Happy generic time of day to you. We are back on the air. I'd like to thank Blue Canary Auto and the people that donated coats over the Christmas season. We gave out over 50 coats, hats, and socks to homeless people directly on the streets of Seattle. So thank you for all the listeners that brought that in to Blue Canary. I'd also like to give a shout out to Sound Reprographics in the Pavilion for sponsoring the show. And you, of course, can donate through Patreon for as little as $5 a day. Today, my guest is from Alchemy Industries and Monkey Wrench, our community member, Jeremy Loerch. How you doing today?
Not too bad.
Good to have you here. And thank you for helping me with all my technical difficulties before we got on air. You're a jack of all trades, yeah?
By necessity.
Yeah. Jeremy and I go way back, and he has a love for all things vocational, welding, foundry, fabrication, teaching. My father was a vocational teacher, among other things, and as I see the school system has really gone away from welding and vocational training electricians, all kinds of things for the people that perhaps, a four-year college doesn't fit. You have a teaching background in Seattle, and you've taught here on the island in the community at your private residence. And tell me a little bit about the history of how that all evolved, that you went from regular school teacher to seeing the necessity in vocational teaching and making something happen for the youth and adults here in our community.
Well, honestly, it was kind of a happy accident. Originally moved to the island when my oldest was born. He was now 16, and I was fortunate enough to be pretty much a stay-at-home dad for, as it happened, 3 kids, one after the next. But the reality of it was I really missed teaching and discovered very quickly that my children were very, to a certain degree, unfortunately, a lot like their father, and had to be engaged. Otherwise, you'd come into the room and they'd taken apart the DVD player. So, I had a nice shop. It was more of a hobby, in the evenings. And then one day I got a phone call from Hyla, of all people, and they somehow heard that I was doing blacksmithing, and they brought over a crew of kids, and we blacksmithed in the shop. And that was kind of I need to be doing this more. Because the kids loved it, but more selfish reasons. It was like, gosh, I didn't realize how much I missed this and how much enjoyment I get out of this. I mean, I loved being with my kids all the time. But it was one of those things where I realized, well, this is why I've been probably a little grumpy. I've been missing something, and I didn't know what it was until that kind of happened. And from there, it just kind of took root.
You have a plethora of skills that I know of, welding and blacksmithing. What are some of the talents that you have?
I mean, I wouldn't call them talents. It's one of those things when you don't have money and you need something done, you have to figure it out yourself. So, like I like to say, it's like, I've played an electrician and plumber on TV, general contractor. I focus on, like my for-profit monkey wrench is custom metal fabrication. I like to focus more on the artistic, creative side of it, which is generally why most of the folks that call me are, conversation starts off, well, we have an interesting situation. Can you come down and look at this? Like the latest was the soon-to-be new Kobe police station. Mm. We have an issue. Can you come down and look at this? And it was just kind of like, ooh, yeah. Is it too much? I'm like, well, no. I mean, there's always a solution. We just need to figure out what it is, and then have an engineer sign off on it.
Yeah. So, what are some of the projects you've done around town? I know you recently put in the staircase at the old laundromat that's getting remodeled.
Yeah, I helped with that. That, funnily enough, the primary, I got brought in after the fact. Rosario Sound Welding did the majority of the fabrication, but they were working out of my shop, and then I assisted with them. And Dwayne is a phenomenal man. And what I love most about working with him is he was actually my welding instructor 20 years ago.
Wow, he's still doing it.
Oh, he's still doing it. He's 72, up on a ladder, like 8 hours without stopping, and just the nicest guy. So that was more me volunteering my equipment and expertise and stairs and cable railing and things like that. Mm-hmm. Goofy install stuff, again, where it's like, how do we get this small I-beam in this little hole? Well, this is what we'll do. So it's, I guess specialty for me with what I do would be out of the box thinking, like MacGyvering stuff into place. So.
Welding with gum.
Yeah.
I was in some open house, I forget where, on the south end of the island, but there was a whole wrought iron balcony inside the house. Mm-hmm. And apparently you had done that. It was quite beautiful.
Yeah.
Had some fake birds on it and stuff like that. And
yeah, the birds were a little kitschy country for me, but they all the pickets and stuff were hand blacksmith and bent, and then the ivy work and everything. So
yeah, the ivy work. I enjoyed looking at that. That was unique. It's not something you walk into a house and see.
No, and it's not something you get to do very often, because that was just strictly all blacksmithing, which is like they say, blacksmiths can make anything except for money. And,
it's like a shoe cobbler that makes bespoke shoes.
Yeah.
They're absolutely beautiful. And
those are more labor of love, and I get a lot of enjoyment from doing it because it's a very organic process of forming metal, traditional manner, hammer and an anvil, a lot of heat.
You romanticize it. I like that.
Well, there's the other way, you hit it like it owes you money, it depends on how you want to look at it.
How thick it is. Hey, I've been to your shop and your property, and, one regret is my dad didn't live to see it, because he would have been very impressed with your ADUs and such. You basically had taken, what do you call those, carrier boxes from train?
Connex boxes.
Put those together like Legos, and
built a large shop in 3 weeks out of necessity.
Very cool. And different wings to it. And you have some motorcycle stuff hanging from the ceiling too, kind of like making it a little like a museum as well, which I thought was a nice touch. And
my first full custom motorcycle I ever built's up there, and my very last. They're up there on display because it's.
And you have some riding trails for the kids for BMX and motorcycles and stuff like that? Yeah,
it's not great for dirt bikes because it's small, but like the BMX and the mountain bikes and stuff, and it's safe and out of the way. So they've built little dirt berms and and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I enjoy watching them do it because I can't do it anymore. You know, it's like living vicariously.
And then you have some big boy Tonka trucks too, right? Where you can play in the dirt and move things around.
Yep. Yeah, antiquated old tractors and things that I've acquired over time that were other people's garbage. And just bring them back to life. And, you know, and there's the vehicle stuff is like, I don't really do that for business. It's more of a
hobby type thing.
Yeah, like things I love. But then with the technology now, like doing electric conversions on vintage cars, I've started doing that. And it's just really cool process to take something that's leaking oil and fuel and inefficient and, you know, like doing a 1968 Volvo station wagon and just an island car, but full electric conversion, give it a new life.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, you had the fire breathing Jake's pickup truck at the parade one year, right?
Yep.
How did that spawn?
That was a culmination of leftover parts because that used to be my truck. And it was just sitting, and Jake was talking about wanting a truck and this and that. So I gave it to him because it sat in my yard for 2 years and I wasn't using it. And what it was somebody gave me an old Jeep Cherokee that the body was completely rotted out of. It was like an Idaho car, you know, you could Flintstone car. And then I had a frame and a cab off of an old 1948 GMC truck. So I took all the Jeep stuff and I put it underneath the GMC truck, and that's how that thing came to be. Just leftover parts.
Now it's iconic, and it runs.
Yeah.
It's kind of here's a piece of junk. I'm going to give it to you. You know, if it ever needs fixing, come here. I'll charge you double. Is that how it works?
Not for Jake.
So tell me a little bit about the class history on your property, where you've had numerous after-school programs, teaching welding to kids. Speak a little bit upon that.
The after-school stuff has mostly been like after-school Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I call it Build, Destroy, Build. And it's not anything specific skill-wise. I mean, it encompasses MIG welding and TIG welding and blacksmithing, tool making, metal shaping, and it's more of a first class, sit down with the kid, talk about what they want to build. And so it's project-based learning. And so once they have a plan, then you teach them the skills to build the thing, so then they're invested in it. It's not just like...
You don't have a curriculum. You say, hey, tell me what you want to make and let's make it.
Well, you know, it's kind of tricking the kid into learning. You know, it's like I have a curriculum and specifics, but you base that curriculum around the kid's project to make it deemable to them so they don't get bored, you know.
What's the craziest project a kid came up with towards you?
That's hard to say. Like, we've done probably the most ridiculous was taking this kid Mason had a 1972 Ford truck, just not even a whole truck, and built this crazy flatbed mud Tahuya mud truck craziness out of it. You know, custom bumpers, bed, lit, you know, like, and completely tore the motor down, rebuilt it. And it's not that crazy, but at the time he was 12 years old. And completely invested in it, you know. That was
going to be his truck.
Yep, that was going to be his truck. And he still has it. So when he's 20, oh my gosh, he's 21 now. So, you know, so you do get those big projects, but then you also get stuff where it's just like, I want to build a flamethrower. I'm like, we need to have a discussion with your parents before I agree to show you how to do that. You know, things like that. Or I had a kid, private school kid, spent almost a whole year, made a full-size traditional English broadsword. And it was beautiful.
Wow.
Like, just beautiful. The only problem was the kid was 13. And by the time he was done, he could barely pick it up, you know, because it was so, like, just this little tiny kid. Yeah. And the thing was almost as tall as he was, but it was to, like, historically accurate in size and weight. And he spent almost a year working on that. It was just phenomenal. So
very cool.
Yeah.
What's going on over there at Alchemy Industries right now? class-wise?
Not a whole lot. We are in transition and have a beautiful space now down at the Day Road Commercial Park.
Tell me exactly where that is. I know where Day Road is. Is that the first turn past the power grid thing?
So if you go down Day Road past where like Bainbridge Builders and Paper and Leaf is on the right, it's the next industrial park down the road on the left-hand side.
Just past Manzanita Park, is it?
Not quite. Just past like AGS Stainless, right across the street from Manzanita Park, the driveway is.
Yeah. That was a relatively new complex, 5 years or so.
Oh, no, that's the one on the right. I'm on the left.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Dave Christensen's place is on the right.
Near the yoga house and...
I am literally underneath Bethany's gym.
Okay.
The CrossFit or what, I don't know what it's called now.
She's out of Coppertop now? She's gone from there? Or she has a new location?
I don't think she was ever in Coppertop. She's down in that location. She's got like giant, like 7,000 square feet. Beautiful space. But I'm in the space below hers, and a nice size, 2,500 square feet.
And did you have to retrofit that, or you just got to move into open space there?
No, it was compartmentalized, and Iggy's and Brendan had it before us, so it...
the kombucha guys?
Yep, smelled a lot like kombucha and sauerkraut. And so we opened it all up so we can have like the welding, and then the little kids, like 5 to 8. I run like kinetics electronics classes, and
oh, cool.
Then the blacksmithing, and then the foundry, bronze casting. So they're all nice, big spaces, purpose built. So it's not like a multi-use space anymore, which is awesome. The best part is there's no sound ordinance down there 24/7.
Yeah, plus you have somebody throwing around CrossFit weights above you, right? And screaming and being motivated.
Exactly. So
perfect neighbors.
Yep. So also hoping, like given the noise ordinance or the lack thereof, I've always wanted to do like art shows and live music and get some of my freak friends to come down from Bellingham who are like fire breathers and, and like just fun,
Jeremy's freak show.
Yeah, pretty much.
Let's do it. I'll promote it.
So
I wanted to bring you here because I had heard a little bit of bad news about your move, because I had loved what you had built. Well, it's probably still there, but you've apparently been displaced from teaching at your original facility because of a neighbor complaint, and the city has backed the neighbor, and now you've been forced to put out a lot of money out of pocket to relocate, restart, and just knowing, what my dad went through to get tools and to fix tools and, things break and supplies and welding rods, it all starts adding up.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have desks and classroom and your time, and then you have additional instructors. Vocational skills have gone by the wayside. They're not as encouraged as they were back when we were growing up in the 80s. If we ever grew up.
No, I'm still emotionally about 13.
Yeah, let's put that asterisk by our names real quick. So tell me exactly how that went down and what are the needs to keep this flowing? Because I understand that you have a beautiful new spot, but money's got to be tight. I know it was somewhat tight before, and this is a labor of love that you're really giving back to the community and giving kids an alternative to, the run-of-the-mill stuff that they're offered elsewhere.
It's unfortunate. Like I said, it's been, I honestly, like, I'm going to not go down the road of speaking ill will and try to take the high road, so to speak. But, persistently complaining about, the school and the business on the property for 8 years, the city needed to do something because there was possible liability of them being sued by an individual if they didn't. And that's the unfortunate part about politics. Like, so there's a very, very single line gray area where running a institution on a property is legal as long as you have direct access to a major road like Wardwell.
So you have a shared driveway on a dead end? Is that?
So it's not a shared driveway. I have a legal easement because my 3 acres is, not directly connected. So I have a legal easement. Mm-hmm. So technically, I don't have on my property direct access to Wardwell.
What does the legal easement exactly mean?
It's filed with with Kitsap County that I have legal right egress to cross this portion of the property to get to Wardwell.
But the city has the ability to scale back some of that easement at any time, correct?
No.
No?
Nope, nobody can.
So what's the issue? I don't understand.
Technically, my property does not have direct access to Wardwell.
It's an easement, not a direct access.
So it's a gray area that I could, there could be, it's like when I posted that, I had a number of individuals who were lawyers like, we're going to do this. We're going to, I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Well, you don't want to move and go bankrupt either, Jeremy.
No, I know. But, the reality of it is like looking at the good side of things is now that I have moved and I have a designated 2,500 square feet of teaching space for Alchemy without any traffic limitations or any issues, mm-hmm. I can really now grow this into my dream of a school. And to be quite frank, once that dream comes to fruition, because I'm going to push and work my ass off and make it happen. And I get to a point where I can actually make a living on it. Mm-hmm. Monkey Wrench goes away.
Because you'd prefer to not be in the industry, you'd prefer to teach.
Yeah, that's where I want to be. I want to be back teaching. Mm-hmm. The way I run Monkey Wrench, I still have kids volunteer and intern, so there's still that learning process. But, there's all the paperwork as employee, intern kind of stuff. And it's always temporary, short-term kind of thing, which is fine. So you're still getting kids coming through, seeing the practical application and excited. But it's not Alchemy. You know what I mean? It's not designated teaching space. And so now I'm going to have that.
I remember at a time you said that Monkey Wrench was supporting your school. You were going to do your day job, working your ass off so you could provide classes for the school that how long you been running this?
8 years.
8 years. That, is your passion project for sure. And now you have a standalone space. And I guess the thing that we got to look forward to now is exciting kids and get them enrolled and, having some projects out there.
No, exactly. And we've renovated, and it's just like me and a couple friends, after hours down there, just, pulling 14, 16-hour days, getting it done. And we are.
We should set up a tour for the public. I just said that out loud. I don't know if that's something.
No,
do.
It's definitely something I want to do once we're a little more polished, and it's still a little construction zoney-ish, so not really safe for your general folks yet. But here in another week, we'll be throwing paint up on the walls, and it'll be a beautiful, presentable space where people can come and see, how it's going to function, and I was going to put it out there on the interweb to come and check it out. And
let me know. I'll definitely do an emergency bonus podcast that says, get out there, open house at Alchemy Industries.
Yeah, no, it'd be good. And like I said, Alchemy is going to be net loss for me for a couple of years, and that's fine. I'll work harder doing Monkey Wrench and, taking side hustle gigs on the weekend just to make money to do what I can to feed it to Alchemy,
Mm-hmm.
So,
what type of classes do you want to set up right away?
well, it's like I said, it's right away the Thursdays and the Tuesdays, build, destroy, build. Because that's everything from, like I said, it's fun because it's like we're making air cannons and welding and black, it's like it's a free for all of, just awesome because the kids will actually feed off each other's ideas. That's the best part. You've got a couple kids doing this here, and then they're like, oh, and so you get that cross building ability. So all of a sudden 2 separate projects turn into one monstrous, thing.
Collaboration.
And, yeah. So it's great seeing, especially kids that you see first come in, and they're the type of kids that they're very shut down and inside their box. And all of a sudden they're working collaboratively together with other kids, and parents just like, well, no, he doesn't like working with others. It's like, well, look at him over there. It sure looks like he's enjoying himself now with that group.
Yeah. Don't generalize your kid.
Yeah. Well,
it's always growing.
Exactly. And it's also a very different environment than your typical classroom, which is still, even in 2023, very much sitting at a desk,
Yeah. And it's funny you bring that up because that was a problem with my son since preschool. He can't just sit, and now you look at working from home and stuff and all these tech jobs, they got the blue glasses, they got the air, the different seating, the stand up, sit down, roll around desks are 3-in-1.
So you can keep moving.
Keep moving. They have the treadmills under the desks. They've now accepted it in the real workplace that, just sitting, staring is just not good. And I'd always get these complaints from the teacher that he can't sit still. Well, yeah, let him stand up for a minute. It's not like he's not engaged. Continue to engage him, but give him the freedom to, get out of that chair once in a while.
Do what he needs to do to be successful.
Yeah. And he's done quite well, but, he's had to make it clear at times to say to the teacher, hey, I just can't sit for 45 minutes. I'm a very active person. I can't just sit. So if I stand up, stretch him for a second, doesn't mean disrespect towards you. And he's got it all sorted now, but I get
don't get me started about education, because honestly,
no, I love your views on education.
Well,
I think that's the most conversations we've
really disheartened by public education, primarily because these teachers are working so hard, and their pay is, you can barely. The pay is ridiculous. The classroom sizes are not functional for actually teaching. Basically, with the classroom sizes dictated by the state of Washington, you're doing classroom management. You're just trying to manage a large group of bodies. It's almost, the private sector and the public education system, it takes a while for it to trickle down to the state.
Yeah, in actuality.
Yeah, it does eventually. It just takes a lot longer than it should, which is why I stopped very early on teaching public education, because I originally started teaching down in Chula Vista, and went into the private school sector, where
in Seattle, right?
Yep, I had 12 kids.
Right. That's a good size group to work with.
Yeah,
not 28.
Exactly. 28, or when I was in Chula Vista teaching first grade, 42 kids.
Unbelievable.
In a portable.
Serious?
Yeah. Where's
no fire marshal
AC there or anything. It was ridiculous. And so you really weren't getting much teaching done. And then a lot of the kids that do have those needs
don't get the attention.
Yeah. I lovingly have always used the term throwaways, or the kids that show up at my place, my lost children, because they're the ones that fall off the edges,
Well, I think of it, there's not much other than after school sports. There's the great robotic team at the high school, but there's a nature walk here and there, but there's not consistency learning a trade anywhere.
Well, they're changing that. They've classified. Now they call it maker spaces. So they're doing makers classes, which is
those are kind of cool.
Well, they are. They're basically the trades, but shop class, metal shop. These things still, for a lot of folks, have a negative connotation to them as less than or less important than college education. Mm-hmm. So they changed it to maker, creative, to not use those words, which is, to me, a little disgusting because it's,
it's ridiculous too.
But it's a reality. And so they're going that route, and kids are, they're gearing it back up, which is awesome. It's just been in the last 2-3 years.
Yeah. Try to call a plumber or electrician and see how fast that works for you. You know?
No, exactly.
There's a need for it. And, how many things do we manufacture in other countries? Because we just don't have the skill set and the manufacturing ideas here.
We just don't have the labor force. That's the scary part. I'm 48. And when I'm forced to retire, my retirement's going to be a pine box. I don't know if there's going to be anybody to replace me other than probably my son Gunner, but the interest and stuff isn't out there because it hasn't been promoted as something feasible, and quite honestly, if I wasn't self-employed and such a sucky businessman, I'd actually be making a pretty good living,
Yeah. And when you talk about teacher salaries, it's much different here in Washington than, say, a place like Arizona. It's 3 times. Yeah, it costs a little bit more to live here too. But the idea of how they treat their teachers over there compared to here is much worse. And it's like we need to incentivize not only the adults, but the kids too.
Yeah.
If you enjoy making things, I want to encourage you to make things, not say, hey, that's a lesser class idea.
Yeah. So it is changing, but like anything, it's just going to take some time. And again, with Alchemy and stuff, I've had kids early on, pre-COVID, when Alchemy was really starting to take root, and then COVID kind of shut us all down. But, I had 2 kids that parents sent them summer camps, and they both ended up going to school and becoming welders. And they're set. One of them works 2 months out of the year up in Alaska. And Devin's, should be 22 now, somewhere around there. Already owns a house, free and clear. Last time I saw him a couple years ago, he drove up, brand new Tahoe, no payments.
Yeah, well, you think of all the welding and the shipyards and the Navy and, just anything with metal. If you want to connect it, it needs to be welded.
Yeah. And so if you're a certified welder or God forbid, they call it nuke welding, if you're welding on submarines, and the incredible money, great benefits, do it a couple years and get out, and you're set. So
it's kind of relaxing too, seeing the bubbles and going around in circles and
but it's it's pretty hard labor, but at the same time it's rewarding. If for me, I enjoy working.
Yeah.
So
it's all good until that weld breaks, right?
It's just that you have to make sure it doesn't. Krazan will flag you on that.
Crazy question though. What does a welding rod cost nowadays? A single one, or
you buy it in bundles. Yeah. It depends on the grade of rod, but you buy it by the pound basically. And a pound of inexpensive rod that's non-structural steel, say about $80, and then a couple years back it was maybe $30.
Yeah, but
steel is like that too. 4x8 sheet of a 1/4-inch plate now is almost $600, and 5 years ago it was $100 and change. So,
yeah, and I just love some of the work that you do. I would love to hire you to do more work at my house, but I would think I would get into a project that's just way above my head. There's so many designs, the privacy fence with the you have one of those metal
CNC
stumps.
Plasma cutter.
Yeah, plasma cutters. That has to be expensive to maintain.
It's actually not too bad to maintain because do the maintenance myself. If I hired somebody to do it, again, it's just like it's time or money, and I ain't got no money, so I make time. But it's also nice to just know how your equipment functions, so you're not having to wait 2 weeks for somebody to come out and repair it. Mm-hmm. You know, same with the trucks. It's like great, big, ridiculous work trucks, and when they break, you know, like you gotta just deal with it. Otherwise, you know, take it to the shop. Well, we're a month and a half out. We'll get to it. It's just like, I can't wait that long.
Yeah. I'm surprised you just hit project after project after project, because there's quite a few established architects and construction companies that value your skill set as monkey wrench.
Most of the time. So, there's a certain engineer I had a conversation with where it was literally like, this is a really pretty picture, but gravity doesn't work this way. I did the math. I'm not doing this. Gravity doesn't work this way. And yeah, so
do you ever feel scared of lawsuits like that?
No, that's why the engineer has to sign off on, like, so I'll get architectural drawings, and then we do what are called shop drawings, of how everything connects and fits. And then those are sent for review to the architect and the engineer to make sure everything is legitimate and to scope. Weight bearing and all that. Yep, exactly. And then once that's stamped, then we build from there. Okay. So that's the sterile side of things, but it's important, you know, because
the sterile side.
Well, it's like, you know, like very complex things, but they are very simple, like a large, let's say 8,000-pound I-beam that is holding up the roof in the new police station. That's 32 feet long, with 2 posts holding it up and getting it through a 4x4 window and down a hallway, and then lift it up by hand because you can't get a forklift in there. You know, so problem solving, but
you get a as well as pay. Did you get a get out of free jail card from the police when you worked on the station?
No, I think, you know, the joke was from the PM. He's like, you know, the only reason why you're on this job. I'm like, no, tell me. He's like, I think the police just want to make sure they know where you're at. I'm just like, you're funny. It's like,
that is funny. Hey, well, thanks for coming in today and telling us a little bit about your new location and the skill sets that you provide for not only teaching, but in our community as well. You do excellent work, and I'm a big fan of both you and your residents. It reminds me a little bit of my upbringing, you know, with my father, and something I appreciate.
Well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. And you have a change.org drive right now to help defer some costs so you can get this class up right away? And
there's somebody that I, you know, honestly really don't know that well, took it upon himself to start a GoFundMe, which is awesome.
And do you remember what that's called?
What the GoFundMe? It's actually linked right on the Alchemy Industrial Arts.org website, and on the Alchemy Arts Facebook page as well.
You're at alchemyindustrialarts.org. That's your website, and you can find more information out there. Jeremy Loerch, thank you for your time today.
All right. Thanks, Tim.
You've been listening to The Bystander. Be kind.